Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
It's disastrous for a president to be unaware of the chief
It's
justice.
a ploy. It could be a strategy.
That strategy was
Backfired.
very terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news, and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news. Welcome to The Advocates. If I say today's edition is going to be cool, calm, and collected, I may be lying. Instead, it may be hot, sizzling, and provocative. I cannot pretend as if she's introducing a moderate conversation by asking us to look at Nigeria beyond 59 years. Let's see where we'll go from there. Benga is pulling no punches. He's calling out our youths as lazy, frivolous, and misdirected. Should I go on? Hey, don't shoot the messenger. Uche is openly looking for trouble once again. She says climate change is a hysterical horse. Let's see how that goes down. Emeka may well be the soberest among us. Anyway, you know him, Ajay. He's calling out the malpractices in our medical system. I'll be setting off the fireworks by asking, is Omoyele Sowore, is he to come or should we expect another? Right after the break. On the 30th day in the 9th month of the year, but in the 4th month, in the first year of the second reign of President Buhari, and so it was that the Department of State Security, hereinafter known as DSS, arraigned Omoyele Sowore, the presidential candidate of Action Alliance in the 2019 presidential election in Nigeria, on charges bordering on treasonable felony, punishable with life imprisonment. And some of the grounds of the charges are that Sowore was planning to overthrow a democratically elected government after losing an election by calling out a protest which he tagged Revolution Now. He was bundled out of his house on a Friday night into a Department of State Security facility in Lagos before he was subsequently transferred to Abuja. The DSS thereafter applied for a court order to remand him for 45 days pending investigation and subsequent arraignment. While the DSS promptly obeyed the order allowing them to hold him for 45 days, even before he was certified by the courts, they refused to obey a subsequent one, granting him bail, claiming that they either had not seen the order despite the service of a certified true copy on them, or, as someone said, they probably were waiting for directive from a God up above. In the face of the obvious provocation by government and the surreptitious clamp down on dissenting voices, the silence of the Nigerian human rights community, the Bar Association, was deafening. And the ordinary people started asking questions. Where is the solidarity forever? We shall always fight for our right. That the civil society people chant at meetings and gatherings. Where are the people and voices that occupied Nigeria over the pop hike? Where are the lawyers that refused to attend court when the military government refused to obey court orders? Where are the activists who are quick to claim that an injury to one is an injury to all? Abi Sowore not be one of them again? So many questions, but no answer. Only time will tell if indeed solidarity was ever, forever, or only for better.
Nice one. You like.
Okay.
You like.
Yeah. I'm glad someone brought up the Sowore matter because, I didn't want to bring it up and also be pushing it as if it were my only, But I'm pained by the situation that's going on with Sowore and anybody who's being held under those circumstances, simply because I feel it's an affront on our democracy. When you ask the question, where are all these people? I would just say it's cowardice. I know a lot of times they've said, oh, it's because Sowore seemed to be running his own. People felt they couldn't identify with the Sowore, move. That they would argue that when it was subsidy, Occupy, that everybody had a stake, but that this one somehow doesn't inspire them because Sowore may have his own agenda. Sowore made this. I just feel, look, at the end of the day, we all know what we're suffering here. So for me, it was never about him as a person. It was only about saying, look, the country is hot. It's hot for all of us, and we all need to join, voices together, and make our voice heard.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm like you. I'm totally disgusted by what is going on. But I also feel like the people have gotten to a stage where we're muzzled, really. We can't see, we're afraid to speak our minds now because we can see, on a daily basis, the DSS is picking up people just like that. Okay. I think the other day they just picked up a Sahara Reporter journalist. And then when people made quite a big noise about it, they released him later on.
Chido Onuma.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, yes.
So they're picking up people.
We're all Biafrans.
Yeah. I think they've not even read the book. If they have read that book,
they didn't know it was the title of a book.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't know. They just quickly reacted. Now, the other complaint I really have is when people say, "Sure, let Yoruba people fight for him." He is there. I
haven't even heard that one.
You need to get more on. So suddenly it's like, let the Yorubas fight for him. After when they were doing Operation Python Dance, in Igbo land, where were the Yorubas?
Okay.
And so I had to actually say, you know what, if you guys are going to now deal with this on a tribal level, then there's something seriously amiss here. Because we really need to focus on what Shore is fighting for. And I came across one of his avid supporters, and he actually said that the one thing about Shore is that he's non-tribalistic. He has he doesn't even think along those lines. So how are we now going to be treating him with that same,
measuring him with that
But this is, for me, I think that the going from what Liberus has just said about whether the activists are. So the question is, where are they? So is this some kind of activism fatigue?
Were they ever there?
But I don't think so. 2014, 2015 election, you had all these activists that sort of helped to enthrone this government. So there's a sense of there's some kind of hypocrisy, and a lot of them are trying to navigate their own mind space in terms of how do we deal with this government. And the other thing is this: I think that a lot of people. And this is a government that has shown that it's not afraid to use force.
Yes, exactly.
And a lot of people are just dealing with trying to survive.
Exactly.
Let everybody kind of fend for,
I think that's probably the more solid reason. Because people help to enthrone
cowardice. But I help to enthrone. It might be a sense of
do you have something to say before I chip in?
I'm not a lawyer, but I think you are one.
Yeah. I wonder where you're going with that.
Who arrested PMB in 1984 after he messed up the democratically elected Shehu Shagari? Do you understand? Who arrested him for treasonable offenses, whatever?
That's section 1, subsection 2 of the Constitution.
Thank you, sir. But Femi Falana said, if I'm going to go to court, my first witness will be the president himself.
Yes.
Do you understand? Now, are there people who are telling him what to do, or is it that he doesn't know his office?
Misadvising him.
Thank you.
That's always possible.
So you spoke about Professor Wole Soyinka. Professor Wole Soyinka, I don't expect him on the street again because in 2012, when we did Occupy Nigeria, he told us bluntly, he said, you know what, I started fighting on the street in 1962. This is 2012.
I'm old.
50 years
fragile.
After, nothing has changed. I'm old, I'm fragile. Don't expect me on the street again.
You guys should take over.
Yes. Now, Femi Kuti said, on that same note, he said, you know what? I was 3 years old when my father started fighting for Nigeria. My father is dead. I'm still alive. I'm over 50 now. Do you still expect me to continue the fight? On the final note, settlement. Because I remember when GEJ's problem in 2010, about transmitting of power when Yaradua died, Save Nigeria group came out, marched on the surface of Nigeria in every state, and helped to, whatever they can. Now, what happened? That same group cannot sort out because then this same Sowore was part of the movement.
What the government does not know is that people like Sowore, the prison cannot hold them down. Or at best, what the government is doing for him, here we are discussing Sowore now, ordinarily wouldn't have been discussing him. What the government is doing for Sowore now is raising his profile, making him a brand. And there are so many disgruntled youths out there who are looking for that person who will be the face, to the redemptive song. And if government is not careful, they might just elevate Sowore to that level that they never expected. And then you still see him, even in court, shouting that revolution will still happen. Because the questions he's asking are valid.
Yes.
But well, like time is never an issue or a friend. They say time flies when you're having fun. But well, confronting issues is what we do here on The Advocate. After the break, Ekene is in search of the way forward. Let's see if we can assist her.
If we don't chart our course, we may well be going round in circles. In recent days and weeks, as if by appointment, I have had the privilege of gleaning first-hand experience and knowledge at the feet of men and women who welcomed our birth into independence as youthful teenagers. Their accounts had me transfixed and teleported to a time when the world lay at Nigeria's feet. Some would ask, when was that time? What struck me in a resounding way is that the story of Nigeria is like a journey with several paths. We appear to have chosen and journeyed down one route, but make no mistake, there are dusty, desolate tracks yet untraveled, which would have led us to a diametrically opposed destination. Paths that, if embarked upon, would have rewritten the narrative entirely and produced 59 years on the giant of Africa indeed, standing tall and proud, a role model of nations. These paths were drafted into our constitutions, sketched into our national anthem, framed in our pledge. These were all inspired by the one thing, the Nigeria of our dreams. But the harsh reality is, we chose the other path, the gold rush, or rather oil rush route, towards an easy money and every man for himself. Never mind the children and the weak, never mind our tomorrow's dreams. We didn't earn the title corrupt nation by accident or random events. We had to learn it. It was and is the product of oft demonstrated and imitated modes of behavior. It has become a national culture, hence the global brand. I have never been a fan of everyone is doing it, especially if everyone is on the highway to hell in a handbasket. Furthermore, it's a blatant lie. Everyone is not doing it. There are always a few good women and men, and we must sift them out like digging up diamonds. We must diligently, deliberately search them out and document our true history and heritage. The good book says, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children and his children's children. In the face of incessant tales of national inheritance squandered at the hands of crooked custodians, the millennials should go seeking role models and learn at the feet of the few good men and women from the previous generation left standing, if they are to lay hold of their inheritance. When all is said and done, Nigeria is what we choose to make it. Happy independence, people.
Happy independence.
Same way you have these people trying to leave inheritance for their children because they take this your inheritance literally and not figuratively.
Okay, the crooks.
Yes, and so what you have is a situation where there are no more role models you know, in the spotlights.
Okay.
And so before the program we talked about having mentorship, political mentorship. And that's why you hear the likes of Bisi Onabanjo, Jakonde, Bolaige and co say they were mentored by Pa Awolowo himself.
Okay.
But with the military intervention, that interregnum, the military mentored people. And what did they mentor people in? Corruption. Force. And so, force, psychophancy, like Emeka said. And so what you have
Survival
now,
of the fittest.
Yes. So what you have now are the fallout of those mentorship. And you will need a new order to recorrect the mentorship and the focus and the redirection. And that's where people would follow. Otherwise, what we have here now is you are lawyer, you are a sycophant, and then you are elevated to the table of these so-called men. And that's why there seems not to be
like a reward.
Exactly. That's why when you correct them now, you are seen as the enemy. You are called named detractor and all sorts. And that's why, to round up on this...
You're even told you're not patriotic.
Yes, it is easy for you to praise and eulogize a man who is not performing so that your daily bread will be certain than to question him. You can be wiped out from the surface of the earth.
Wow. But we have to.
I think that it harkens back to all that we've said on numerous occasions. At least I've had the opportunity of being on this show. The fact we talked about how this country was born. You know, the birth of this country is not as glorious as we like to think it is.
The birth of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the birth of it. Even going back to 1914 was a series of compromises in 1960, the independence. It's not as glorious as we you know, we're patchwork. And so the business of Nigeria has always been around how to put this thing together. And the business of Nigeria has ultimately become politics of power. It's not about development. It's not about
common good.
It's about how do I keep power? How do I keep power? What do I do with power? And how do I keep the other tribe or the other groups away from power? And so you've grown.
It's like Game of Thrones.
Exactly. So we have found ourselves, you know, like Libero said, this group of politicians, whether in army uniform or in Agbada, whose entire business is about, you know, maintaining power. And so you have this, you know, almost like a roulette going around every 4 years. It's my turn. It's not my turn. It's our turn. It has to be our turn. Nothing. You never hear any discuss about how do we deal with the fundamental of how this country is and how do we build, you know, like you said, the next 59 years, how do we construct a vision of a more united, a more developed country? You will not hear that discussion. I mean, we've had a system.
We're already planning for 2023.
23, and there's a whole politics now that's devoted to 2023. You know, the Game of Cards or the Game of Thrones here, but no conversation around education, science, the vision, trade, technology, infrastructure. Yeah. But all we hear is about who's going to be president and who's going to be vice, and whether it's going to be the turn of the Igbos or the Yoruba West or the Middle Belt or the just. That's all we're on about. Yeah. And that's sad.
It is.
So we can't go forward.
Yeah.
I mean, we spoke of mentorship, and I was like, I'm not even sure that it's really mentorship that is, because I think we know what we ought to be doing.
Okay.
I don't think there's any Nigerian leader or even Nigerian that doesn't really know what the right thing to do.
No, it's I can tell you, Joe, there are so many that don't know.
Or maybe they're not focusing on it. That's probably what
I think.
Is it not when you know that you focus on?
No, they don't want to.
They're deliberately choosing
because
to
like what Emeka said, you know, that's the point I'm going back to. Like what Emeka said, it's about grabbing power. You know, there are enough programs. Like even before this show started, I spoke about how I was tired of a particular program airing every year, you know, with key speakers, you know, everybody blowing grammar, and you know, in terms of what are the solutions to Nigeria's problem, we have enough people to tell us. So nobody can tell me that they do not know. It's a matter of really,
we traveled abroad and we see what works outside Nigeria.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so I'm really I really feel almost like we have no hope, because not only do we have people who, like Liboros pointed out, have that military corrupt mentality. We also have a group of youths
Don't worry, Benga is coming with his
youths who have been disarmed in every way. They're not educated, they have no motivation, they have no, and so their only path can only be corruption.
The wickedness of the elders and the idleness of the youth.
Yes.
That's a summary. When you use a ladder to climb, wisdom and kindness to humanity demands that you leave that same ladder for others to climb.
So it's a combined.
But these, our wicked elders, use the ladder to climb.
And then they remove it.
They remove the ladder, not only remove, they destroy and burn the ladder.
Which one are you, elder or?
The elder.
Our ladder.
Which one are you, Benga? Are you an elder or a youth? You have to take some responsibilities for something.
Yes, I'm a youth mentor. I'm an elder. Do you understand?
That means you can make a change.
So that's what we are saying. That's why we're making this advocacy.
Yes.
So I agree with you, sir. A new mentorship program must be enforced. Leaders think about next generation, but politicians only think about next election. So everything came from our culture. If you trace our history, there is a kind of force in us. An average Nigerian or an average African is doing whatever he's doing, either to oppress or to impress. So I'm the one driving the biggest
Busta
car.
Rhyme.
thank you, I have arrived. I'm the one doing this, so everybody can stay rankadede. I think that's our problem until we begin to be selfless. Jakande in 4 years. I'm saying it, I've not seen a 20-year regime that has beaten or that has, surpassed what Jakande did in 4 years.
That's impressive. So for that for me is already a legacy in itself and something we can emulate. Well, we live and learn. Happy 59th year of independence to you. I can't make out if Gbenga is doing less of celebrating and more of berating after the break.
There is a time for the carrot and a time for the stick. Nigerian youth are hello due to my job, what I do every day, especially as a youth coach and a mentor. I've seen all manner of unbelievable things in the last 10 years, especially in our great country, Nigeria. So permit me to share a few of them with us as we celebrate our 59th birthday with a sad cake. Our youth watch all forms of international content, ranging from movies to social media, and that has shaped their expectations. But they've been unable to tone down their knowledge to fit into the space they are in, that is Nigeria. Hence, they complain, they are frustrated, and always yearning to be body. That is, go meet the grass that appears greener on the other side of Obodo Yibo, the abroad. So they are internationally oriented but locally irrelevant. They know the names of the Kardashian family members who have no direct or indirect impact on their local government, but they don't care to know their ward councillors, local government chairman, House of Rep members, or senators, let alone governors, especially our youth, which fall in the class of millennials and partly Generation Z, both at home and abroad. With an entitlement mentality, they know how to complain but not to be good citizens. So our youth will prefer to dance shaku shaku than to come out and vote on election day. Showorel is still behind bars despite the court order disobeyed by the federal government. Yet, what have Nigerian youths done? You hear people say, Shebi na him won't become president. Making use the political platform to do election revolution now. Nigerian senators are buying 5.5 billion naira worth of brand new cars, SUV for that matter. But many states can't pay 30,000 naira minimum wage. Yet, the Nigerian youth will shout, Tuale Baba or Mbejiloke Sekonle, when they come to our churches, our mosques, and our streets, just for the greedy politicians who drop crumbs for the agile and muscular but lazy youths. When people are being kidnapped, Nigerian youths will rather go and pray or do Africa insurance to protect himself and their family neglecting others. When power-holding people decide to dance disco with our light, we go and buy generator. When fashionable boys don't fix our roads, we pray, sow seeds to buy jeeps. After all, the scripture says deep calleth unto deep, but in this part of the world, it is jeep that calleth unto jeep. When our public schools are short of teachers and infrastructures are dilapidated, we ensure that our children goes to private schools. Many young Nigerians like Felado Toye, Banky W, Kingsley Mohalu contested in the last election. Nigerian youth preferred to vote for recycled old people just because of 5,000 naira and one tin of rice, tomatoes, shared by these old-time politicians. And they will say, now my own share of the stolen money be that at the collector. But in 2018, over 170 million votes were cast on Big Brother Naija show by the same Nigerian youth, 30 naira per SMS. That's 5.1 billion naira in revenue from SMS alone. When you as a youth start to defend fraudsters on social media, then it is now your suffering begins. NYSC. Why are Nigerian youth so obsessed with getting money? Why are these abominable practices seemingly on the increase? Things like baby factories for selling your own babies, eating of human and animal feces, using biological parents for rituals, and drug abuse. It's like prostitution is now a career. All in the name of money. Where is our conscience? Where is the result of the churches and mosques we go every week? What is our Nigeria becoming? Nigerians, both young and old, we never be bought there to dance and teach their children. Bata mi adun ko ka timba kawe mi. They will never sing, Ọmọ mi ṣeun rere tí a dára o. But rather, sing and dance to self-degrading music. If you don't get money, hide your face, and people will be screaming, Chai! There is God, though. Until we bear our body, that is, we wake up from our out of irresponsibility, nothing changes. Remember, it is irresponsibility that makes a man become a liability. Gbebodie, Nigerian youth.
I've learned Gbebodie today.
And I feel like
I've learned African insurance.
I've learned African.
I think I have to say thank you for that advocacy. It's very complete, and it's something that I share about, because I also work a lot with young people. The biggest thing political leadership should do, I listened to my president's address. I wasn't inspired. I wasn't inspired. I didn't see, because one of the most important things that leadership does, as you said, is inspire.
Inspire, yeah.
You know, the youths are not inspired. And that sense, that cloud is very ominous, and that just leads them into this path where it's all negative, because they feel that for me to survive, I've got to do whatever it takes, you know, to survive. And then so we begin to find all of these things. I think we just need to find a way to dial back and bring inspiration back into this.
Okay, I guess, I mean, he's actually said what I wanted to say, because I was thinking, you know, my own caveat, as Libros was saying off air, was really to say, where did they learn this thing from? You know, they didn't just show up being hopeless by themselves. They're looking at us, and like he said, we are not looking for a social solution. We're looking for a solution, so to speak. And so everybody is looking for the easy way out. Nobody's looking to fix it for society. Nobody's ready to sacrifice, you know, and say, look, instead of buying gen, let's all stand together and say this thing cannot continue. During the elections, it wasn't just the youths that went to vote for recycled politicians. It was, but yes, the youths constitute the largest. So if they stood up as one man and said, you know, which is why people like Moghalu may have felt betrayed, because they were thinking and counting on the youths to come out in number and say, we'll get behind our man, because they're 70% of population, but instead, no show, you know. But like you said, when Big Brother Naija shows up, everybody rallies round.
Big Brother didn't just get the numbers they are getting today.
Yes.
They started from somewhere, and it now becomes, you know, a way of taking out stress for young people.
Yes, it is.
You know, in a hopeless society, somebody gives, you know, a glimpse of hope. You're like, okay, this one will take my mind off crime, will take my mind off the street. I want to be in this place. Yes, escapism. Secondly, government, the purpose of government is security and welfare of the people. But a situation where there is absence of that, it will be to your turn to Israel. Like Fidel Castro once said, in a state of lawlessness, it becomes illegal to be law-abiding.
Wow.
And so, what you have is a lawlessness and hopelessness right from the leader. You use the word, you climb and then you destroy the ladder. Yeah. And where the world is diversifying into a knowledge-based economy, what are we diversifying into? Nothing.
Nothing.
You had people who fought for June 12th. People like Moses Osakede as a youth leader died fighting for the actualization of June 12th. But these people are not celebrated. They are not talked about. Nobody remembers them. So why will anybody want to die again? Student unionism those days, actually you write from there and then become an advocate. But these days, you get into the university, all you're thinking of how to graduate quickly so that you can be making a living. But there is hope.
Yes,
and the hope is that this is the time to start. The politicians are regrouping. Okay. And they're already talking about 2023. They're meeting. You won't see the Duro Toye, you won't see the Moghalu now until 6 months to election. Now is the time for them to begin to go round.
Or for us to get behind them.
Exactly, get behind them. Let them, you know, begin to sell their programs and tell people Obama started 4 years before the election, moving around, traveling. So let's continue to sensitize these people.
Yes.
You'll be shocked. And how amazing the Nigerian youth can turn out to be.
Thank you. Uche?
No, I don't really have anything to add. You know, I think it was a great advocacy, and I really hope it speaks directly to the youth, you know, in the manner that you intended. You spoke in their language as well, which I thought was
like
definitely very important, you know. But, you know, actually, your advocacy brought home Liboris's advocacy on mentorship. So it's the only way you can change that kind of mindset. It has to be through mentorship, through small groups, and then, you know, eventually it's like a virus that will then
which is why Shore is
spread.
looking like a mentor, because he's standing in the face of opposition.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
still, you know,
still standing strong.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you. Just like the Kennedy School of Leadership in Harvard, during Fashola, something like that, I started in Lagos, of which I'm one of the mentors. So I can assure you that things are being done in the area of mentorship program. I don't tell you my own Nigerian youth, not just body, but sense here. You understand? So on Who Will Cry for Abba, Calm Talk TV says the tax the government of Abia State is collecting every month from businesses in Aba is almost half the federal revenue show. Abia State receives from the federal government and yet nothing to show for it. On the matter of capital punishment for kidnappers, Emeka Nweke says, death penalty for kidnappers, but meanwhile, the Nigerian government is granting amnesty and paying billions to terrorist groups like Boko Haram and Fulani militia headsmen. On the matter of our decadent educational sector, Tola Jai says, the other day I corrected someone on the platform that they don't share blood, but the word is share, okay? Some people came calling me a white man's slave. Honestly, the quality of our education is below zero. You need to hear and see the rubbish people talk and write. Much as we know, no one is perfect. There are some unpardonable mistakes. I hope it gets better. Okay, keep your comments coming in on our social media platforms, on Facebook, Plus TV Africa, hashtag The Advocate NG, on Twitter and Instagram at Plus TV, hashtag The Advocate NG. To catch up with previous broadcasts, go to www.plustvafrica.com/The Advocate. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, that is Plus TV Africa. After the break, Uche asserts that climate change is a hoax. Who are we to believe? You decide.
You're watching The Advocate on Plus TV Africa. Testing the waters can be a recommended approach. The climate change hoax. Yes, that is my topic today. After our Too Hot to Handle clip was released...
So
problem
the
does not
right,
even include Africa.
And Greta Thunberg is to be admired. We shouldn't dismiss her.
At all.
The president is right. She's exactly the epitome of what our young ladies should be. The president is right to go there, and it's a responsible thing to do. And I think it's actually irresponsible to imply that we shouldn't be bothered about climate change. I'm glad you added that we should do our bit. He was talking about planting trees, that is right.
Due to my comments that climate change is a hoax, a few people were curious as to why I would take such a stance. And so this week, I decided to share why. Firstly, I'm pretty sure that many of you would not have heard of the 500 scientists who wrote to the United Nations declaring that there is no climate emergency. There is no cause for panic and alarm. There is no statistical evidence that global warming is intensifying hurricanes, floods, droughts, and such like natural disasters, or making them more frequent. Instead, we got Greta Thunberg, a 16-year-old girl, commanding the airwaves, saying, "You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words." So, how true are her words? How are we sure that humans are really responsible for global warming? Is there really an emergency, as they would have us believe? We constantly hear that 97% of climate scientists think global warming is real and largely caused by humans. A Google search on this reveals that the number was widely promoted by an Australian blogger named John Cook in 2013. Then, Al Gore deceptively chose 12,000 papers on climate change and manipulated and subjectively interpreted parts of abstracts to support his beliefs. Many scientists whose names were used protested. A recalculation showed that less than 2% of the papers cited mankind to be mainly responsible for global warming. The planet goes through weather cycles, and these have a much bigger impact on the climate than humans. There was also a time in the Earth's history, like the Cryogenian period, when the entire planet might have been a snowball. Many scientists don't buy into the climate change panic. Co-founder and former president of Greenpeace, by the way, Patrick Moore, says that climate change is a complete hoax and a scam. John Coleman, the late Weather Channel founder, called global warming the greatest scam in history. AccuWeather founder Dr. Joe Myers also agrees. So does Jeremy Corbyn's scientist brother, Piers Corbyn. Not to mention the dozens of failed climate predictions that stretch 80 years back. The 2009 ClimateGate scandal at the University of East Anglia, when a release of internal emails showed scientists eager to deceive to get more global warming money, with practices that range from bad professionalism to fraudulent science, bias, data manipulation, dodging freedom of information requests, and efforts to subvert the peer review process were uncovered. So what causes climate change? It is primarily caused by the fluctuations in the sun's intensity and also caused by the gradual changing tilt of the Earth's axis and changes in the Earth's orbit around the sun. There are other factors such as volcanism. So why the hoax? Climate change is a hoax led by the United Nations so that it can end democracy and impose authoritarian rule. Global warming was merely a hook to install the New World Order, as stated by Maurice Newman, advisor to 2013 to 2015 Australian PM Tony Abbott. This mass hysteria is therefore, in my opinion, simply about money and power. Carbon taxes give governments much more control over commerce. Radical Democrats like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez proposing rebuilding all buildings in America and trains that will run across oceans in her Green New Deal to halt climate change. Somebody clearly benefits from this. Climate change is being used as a control tool by governments that push it. They whip up mass hysteria to impose taxes and all manner of control on the people because, after all, we are saving the world. The bottom line is that climate change is still very much a mystery to us all, and until we have concrete proof that humans are mainly responsible for global warming, we all need to take a deep breath and actually calm down.
No, I don't agree with you.
That's okay.
You see...
wait, let him land.
No, I must say this quickly.
Oh, my goodness.
My sweetheart is also a geographer.
Okay, when you finish clapping, let Emeka land.
I fundamentally disagree.
Okay.
So maybe I'm part of the hoax cabal, but I do disagree. I think that rather this thing, there's some fundamental things around climate change. I do agree with you, however, with regards to, obviously, the sun. The Earth rotates around the sun, so whatever the sun does has an effect on us. There's no doubt about that. But to say that humans who live on this planet, 7-point-something billion of us, burning fossil fuels every day, taking carbon out of the ground, burning it, and we see it. If you go to China, there are days when you cannot see the sun. There are days you cannot breathe, you cannot see the sun. Why is that? Because people are burning coal and fossil fuels. If you lived in LA like 20 years ago, you couldn't see the sun. We had acid rain in Los Angeles. To say that climate change is a complete hoax, I'm
not necessarily. No, sorry, let me just come in and say I'm not saying
hold on, let him finish so his train of thought is a lot.
We as humans do not have an effect on the planet. It's actually, if you stretch that logic, is to say that we as humans who live on this planet, we have no significance, whatever. That's what you're saying.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
7 billion of us living, breathing, doing work, doing businesses,
without any effect.
Then we have no effect on the planet. That will be stretching in the wildest.
No, can I come in?
But I do agree that there is a context to an economy. Everything is about money. We live in a planet now. Everything revolves around money. We were here how many years ago when you had the zero 2000.
Yes,
you had that global scam. If you say, millennium bug. Once you get to everything will crash, planes will fall out of the sky.
Okay, yes, we had that.
And so on and so forth. So obviously on both sides of the divide, there are people who stretch the argument for whatever reasons, for pecuniary reasons or whatever. But I don't subscribe to the idea, as reflected in your advocacy, that somehow 7-point-something billion people living on this planet have no contribution or no effect.
Okay, no, but please, I must come back to Emeka. No, because you might continue.
My line of
it's a very quick one. I'm not really going to say anything.
That line, I so get that you can respond to all
gosh.
Of them.
Okay, carry on. Carry on.
In one breath, you say climate change is a hoax. In another breath, you say it wasn't caused by human. That means there's climate change. So
I feel there's a huge misrepresentation of what I said, but anyway, carry on.
Let's represent it.
Okay, represent it from your own perspective. Yes.
And so for me, really, I like Emeka has said, I believe it's a 50-50 thing, not as challenging as people are making it to seem, but at the same time, there is definitely climate change and there's an impact. The only way I can even take it to the average man on the street is the river in my community. That is drying up faster than ever. You know, it's not just about the sun. It's also the impact of even the locals.
Even plastics. Look at what plastics are doing in our oceans.
And so all of this contributes to all of this climate change that we're talking about. But yes, I agree that it's big business to some persons, to, you know, some countries, and, you know, all of that. And then, like Chuka talked about last week, in Africa here is not as
we're not contributing as much as some other countries.
But that does not mean that, you know, if we just fold our hands, it won't get to us. And then recently they talked about that 31 years from now, cities like Lagos will submerge, and all those ones too. Yes, why it is good to, you know, predict, but I really don't think that it's as
drastic
as they make it seem. I agree with you partly, and I completely love your advocacy, but I also understand.
She's an agent provocateur. She's pushing this thing.
No.
She's giving us a platform to have this discussion.
No, but Emeka, you have to let everybody has spoken. So I know I must respond to this so that it doesn't like carry on. You know, I think I'm being misunderstood.
Okay.
I'm not saying that humans don't have any effect whatsoever on climate change. What I'm saying is that the degree at which they're pushing that humans actually have that kind of impact, I'm actually disputing that.
You know, there's some islands in the Indian Ocean that are literally unlivable at the moment.
That's true, but there was also times that they were saying the icebergs were melting, but then the icebergs they formed again. And then also in the 70s and the 80s, do you know that the prediction that they gave at the time was that it was going to be an ice age?
But do you
now they're talking about global warming.
But do you know that people, the governments and countries, that's why I use Los Angeles. If Los Angeles didn't do anything about the acid rain, Los Angeles as a city will have become unlivable. So actions were taken by governments
like
to solve that. No, not that Korocha one. So it is possible. So it is possible.
Okay, I'm coming in.
Technology changes in how we do certain things will affect prediction.
I agree.
Okay, let me come in.
To what degree? The fact is we don't know to what degree.
You have to let us respond to your advocacy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let me just come in now. I think, yes, clearly there was that opportunity to misunderstand you because you were trying to debunk what you felt was a hoax. My problem with the whole climate change discussion, because even when I researched it, I realized it's very partisan.
Yes.
So I'm not interested, both from your perspective and theirs. Most people who want to make the argument against climate change, you can pretty much follow them, and they're sounding like Trump. They're Republicans, they're this, they're that, and they're following a certain trend. Those who want to make it for are certainly liberals and this, and so I'm not interested. When people start going into camps, I'm not interested. I just want what's best for everyone. Let's forget scoring points. Let's look at it. We are for the earth. We are for preserving the earth for the generations to come, and that's really where I end my point.
I think I'm just going to say the makers of computer virus are also the makers of antivirals.
Yes, exactly. I understand where you're coming from. Yes, exactly. So it's like big pharma and drugs. Yes.
So when you see this kind of argument and this kind of economy, not even political now, economy, court strategies, and I keep quiet and I watch from afar. Because I also know that major sponsors of grants are also major sponsors of war. You understand? So we don't allow them to just take us into camps, like you said. But unfortunately, in Nigeria, we don't have research centers to prove them either wrong or right.
So what you are saying is that the sponsors of security votes are also sponsors of insecurity. So that we can take it home.
So now that everybody has spoken, the reason I had to bring this up is not that I actually
I'm glad you brought it up.
It's not that I actually think man has no responsibility or contribution towards climate change. What I want to do is bring awareness so that it's not this kind of response that people have to absolutely everything. You know, they're fed stuff, they don't question anything, they don't go and read about anything, and they jump on the bandwagon.
You know, somebody was asking me, climate change, where does he live? Because everybody's talking about it. Where does he live? So now with your message that calm down, it's not as bad as cool out.
But still do your bit for society.
No, absolutely. Don't throw away.
Let's be friendly to the environment.
Yes, you have to be more.
I always proactive.
I always compare it to, you know, you're not going to leave your house dirty with so much filth and rubbish because diseases will come and all manner of things. So I believe we should definitely still take care of our environment. Can we just everybody just calm down a bit, you know?
Okay, let's calm down.
Except that in Nigeria, we haven't even gotten stirred up.
Yeah, but we have viewers in diaspora.
We're too laid back. We need to be whipped up into more action.
We have enough change. We have enough change in 2015.
We don't have problems with being calm.
Our problem is worse than climate change.
Oh my goodness! Right, there you go. At least all I can do is lay out my stall and encourage you to find out for yourselves. Emeka lays it bare from a personal experience after the break. Stay tuned.
It's great to be back on The Advocate, and happy to finally, we've had the show together, but it's good to be back with Libby on the show today. So my advocacy this week is deeply personal, tragic, and indeed frightening. I lost a close friend on Sunday, a young man in the prime of his life. Rest in peace, Stanley Mwabia. In circumstances that appear to bear the imprints of some type of medical mishap. So while Stanley was undergoing needed blood transfusion, Stan died. As a result of donor blood being of the wrong rhesus factor. Apparently the hospital lab technicians allegedly didn't screen properly for that, and my friend died. 9 years ago, another friend of mine, Yakubu Abba, the kindest man I've ever known, also died needlessly, an avoidable death, while undergoing a routine procedure in an Abuja hospital. But I get it. People die. We all die. People die every day. Some will say they were indeed destined to die. But let me tell you, if you run out into the road, onto a moving train, you surely will die. And there's nothing about destiny there. It's either you just wanted to commit suicide or it's just negligence. Let me go further. Like a Nollywood script, Mr. Audu Bulawayo Bukati tweeted a few days ago how a certain Dr. Yakubu Hassan Kwaji was struck off the Nigerian medical practitioner's roll following a petition he had written to the Medical Disciplinary Council way back in 2007. So according to him, sometime in 2016, one Issa Haman, now deceased, went to Dr. Kwaji's private clinic in Jimeta, Adamawa State, with stomach pain. Without careful examination nor due process, Kwaji collected 50,000 naira from the deceased person and rushed him into surgery. He removed the patient's both kidneys and then gave the kidneys to his relatives to bury, saying, "These are the tumor causing the tummy ache." Soon, obviously, Haman stopped urinating and started hemodialysis. Investigations in other hospitals revealed that he had no kidneys at all. Now, as if it's not bad enough that we have a huge challenge with access to healthcare and inadequate medical personnel, even as more professionals are leaving Nigeria daily, we have to add insult to injury. We now have to contend with a growing incidence of medical malpractices happening all over Nigeria. So I believe it is time doctors must have some sort of malpractice insurance as a requirement to practice, so that families of patients who have been injured or suffered the loss of their loved ones can have some kind of recourse to some form of financial restitution. And indeed, make the hospital administrators realize there is not just being struck off the road, but there's a high cost, a financial cost to their negligence. Rest in peace, Stan. I want to thank you for your generous wit, the laughter we shared, and most of all, your kindness. God bless and keep your family. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Emeka, for that. I mean, I didn't know him personally, but he was, you know, he was a follower of mine on Twitter, and I followed him.
You knew him?
I didn't know him personally, but for some reason we followed each other on Twitter. And I always remember thinking, I love this guy's tweets, you know. So it really just, it was such a sad thing when I heard, I think it was a couple of days.
Died on Sunday.
Yeah, that he died. And to think that it was something so ridiculous as that. And unavoidable. And, you know, and I started thinking, God, how many people have gone through this? I know in the last month alone, I heard of, there was a young child that we sort of know, it's like a 3-4-year-old boy, and he was taken to hospital. His parents took him to hospital, and because he was having he was just unwell. Rather than they treat him or examine him or do enough tests in order to find out what was going on, they started treating the poor boy for malaria, right? And then they gave him some antibiotics, right? And then within 3 days, that was the end of that child. The child just passed away. Then an aunt, or a woman that I know who I would refer to as an aunt, died recently because she was having some problems at home. She couldn't breathe or something. They took her to the hospital, and then as the nurse administered an injection again to treat malaria, the woman started, you know, she couldn't breathe, and that was the end of it, and that was her life gone. Okay. So, you know, when you look at the way, why are we always so quick to jump to one kind of, diagnosis? And it's usually malaria or whatever.
On the scan with typhoid, every time you go to any of these funny hospitals, first thing they'll tell you is typhoid.
You see, we all have personal experiences on this issue, including my uncle, my mother's younger brother, Christopher Abu, who had heartburn, and then the next thing he was admitted, given injections, and then started jerking, and just died like that. Wow. When I now sat with the family and said, look, we need to write a petition, Christianity, religion. Yes. Oh, it won't bring back the dead.
It was meant to be.
Leave it for God. Like you said, it was meant to be. The same thing with a friend's wife that died at childbed in one of the hospitals in Lagos here, public hospital, and then, if you write a petition against the doctor now, will it bring her? He'll lose his job. But you need to remove him from the system.
And send a message out to other negligent doctors.
So religion will also come in. And then that's why nobody, like we all said here today, why the same reason why the youth will be body here, when the man who is at the helm of affairs does not have faith in the public institution that he has sworn to protect, to defend, and preserve, he would rather go out for medical treatment abroad, take his children for medical treatment, take his children to school abroad. That says everything.
Libro, there was no Panadol in the clinic of the presidential villa.
I remember my first child, at 6 months, he was stooling and vomiting at the same time. Rushed him to public hospital.
Don't tell me malaria or typhoid.
No, if we had even gotten to that level. You know, for an emergency, we were outside for almost 3 hours. Collect card, do this one. And, you know, at the end of the day, luckily, somebody referred us to a private hospital where he was quickly attended to. Imagine somebody that does not have money, you know, to rush to a private hospital. Some of these private hospitals also do the same thing. So, and that's why I completely agree with you. There should be some form of medical insurance, you know. And then the NMA cannot sit down there and know what's happening everywhere. This idea of Christianity, God giveth, God taketh, or in Islam, they say, oh, God has given, God has taken. We should learn to we should hold people accountable. Responsible for their actions and inactions. We are not holding government responsible, you are not holding private people responsible.
Who are you then holding responsible?
And then what is the value of life here?
Okay, let me just come in because I made some notes while you were talking. I mean, sometimes people argue that it's because we don't have enough money, but quickly responding to what Libros said about his son, triage is just the method where you teach the staff to know how to select the people that need immediate attention. That doesn't cost anything. It just means you need to know who is an emergency, who can wait. You can't just keep someone out there for 3 hours and not care if they die or if they can't. But anyway, so very quickly, I had a consultation with someone who is a medical practitioner who works in quality assurance. And I'm sure, hopefully, this advocacy will go beyond, because we need the people who are concerned to hear about it. And he was saying that, look, it's one thing to have medical insurance, the medical practitioner's insurance, but that on its own will not solve the problem. Yeah. So he was recommending 3 things, and he said, look, first of all, the patients need to be empowered. Patients need to be ready to ask their doctors, what treatment are you giving me? Yeah. And put them on the spot. Because I was surprised yesterday to learn that a colleague of mine whose wife was having a baby was told he should go and wait somewhere else. The husband should be there when the wife is having the baby. He couldn't barely hear his wife's voice. You don't know what's going on. If they gave her another baby, you wouldn't even know. So what I was saying is 3 things, and I'm on point number 1. So the first one is that patients themselves need to be empowered and they need to be emboldened to ask questions. Doctors are not gods. They should let you know, that if possible, give you access to your patient's records, because that's the only way they will know that they're serving you. The second thing is that the Medical and Dental Council need to themselves this is why I want this thing to go further. They need to know that they owe us a duty of care to make the doctors accountable to us and to let patients know that if you find that someone has committed an offense against you, this is the routes by which you should complain. And they should give us incidences of successful people who have complained about this. So people will be encouraged to take action. They can do this. So finally, the lawyers themselves, people like Libros, need to be able to step up to the plate and say, we're offering pro bono service here.
Even when you offer, the family will tell you, leave it for God.
No, but not when they are now enlightened by the Medical and Dental Council, not when the doctors. We need to create a more active society who know their rights.
You're not supposed to know.
No, it doesn't matter. This is a societal war. This is a societal war. Everybody needs to fight it together. And I'll rest with them.
Where somebody was asking, please, this drug, what is it for? The man said, no, you are not supposed to know.
I know, but not now. When you've heard this advocacy, you say no. Yeah.
He has a right to know.
Of course he does.
You can't just be giving
in a plastic bag. He doesn't know the name.
You know what it is for.
Yeah.
He should know.
Yeah. You see, Libros, I think impunity beyond corruption is our problem.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
You do something and nobody is. So in 2018, on my birthday, I went to Solo General Hospital to just pro bono. And guess what? An 85-year-old man just fell down, trying to help him. And I saw this young doctor, a female, shouting on the man. Baba, that is, Baba, don't die here, go and die at home, something like that. I forgot it was my birthday. I left everything I was doing, and I went to her. I chatted, said, you know what? I don't think you have elders at home. The way and manner our medical practitioners, the way they treat people, you don't think there is flesh and blood on them.
Oh, wow.
Go to Lut as I speak to you now. They don't have lift. The lift they have in 1960 is what they are still. Now they don't have lift.
I experienced
Go
that.
to Lut now, they don't have.
We had to carry
so 2 weeks ago, a 14-year-old girl was being pushed to the theater for an operation, and gas finished as they were pushing her. We lost a friend early this year who was abandoned for 9 hours in the hospital because a particular money was not brought. United Nations will give free drugs to this hospital, and these doctors and nurses will take these drugs out for sale. Many cancerless people, they don't have cancer, had been forced to do chemo in this Nigeria.
Okay.
Yes,
it's true.
Last
because
week,
of the money.
My neighbor lost his younger sister in Ife because they gave her wrong injection. The lady died and the daughter died just last week. You see, Emeka, not only politicians will be beaten at this rate, medical doctors, police will be beaten.
Wow.
Well, it's like I said, it's deeply personal, tragic, and frightening. Some experiences bring you face to face with harsh realities that we live with. We advocate so that others can be spared their experience. Indeed, keep your comments coming in on our social media platforms, on Facebook, Plus TV Africa, #AdvocateNG, or on Twitter and Instagram at Plus TV Africa, #AdvocateNG. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Plus TV Africa. Till next week, same time, keep advocating for a better society. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Really disastrous for a president
to even say
be unaware of the chief
justice. It's a ploy. It could be a strategy.
That strategy was very terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news, and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news.